Imagine a leader, right? So driven, they literally slept under their desk. So demanding, engineers were, well, frankly, terrified sometimes. Yet, this same person, so visionary, they reshaped, what, multiple
Yeah,
industries?
multiple. Easily.
This isn't some superhero story. We're doing a deep dive today into the leadership lessons you can actually use, hidden inside the life of Elon Musk.
And we're pulling this from Walter Isaacson's big biography.
Forget the generic advice. We're pulling out 10 essential, um, immediately implementable leadership principles that really powered his, well, his trajectory.
Exactly. We're using Isaacson's book, Elon Musk, as our main source here. It's incredibly detailed, a real deep look.
It really is, and it gives you this treasure trove of insights into his methods, his thinking. It's more than just a story of his life. It's like a case study in extreme leadership.
Really extreme.
And that's why you're here, the learner. You want that knowledge quickly, thoroughly right. Avoid feeling overwhelmed, maybe get a few aha moments.
Yeah, cut through the noise.
So our mission today, extract those actionable leadership lessons. We've synthesized the key takeaways, trying to give you a balanced view based only on what's in Isaacson's book.
Right, grounded in that text. So where do we start? First principle.
Let's do it. Lesson 1, embrace first principles thinking.
Okay, so this sounds maybe a bit academic, but it's actually super practical for him. It's about breaking problems down.
Down to the bone, right?
Yeah, to the fundamental truths, like the physics of it or the absolute basic need, and then building solutions from there, ignoring all the assumptions or, how things are normally done.
It's like clearing the slate.
Pretty much. It helps bypass all those biases we have about how things should work.
The book gives that great SpaceX example, doesn't it? The cost of rocket parts.
Oh, yeah. The suppliers were quoting these. Just astronomical figures.
Eye-watering, I think was the word used.
Right.
Yeah.
And Musk didn't just, haggle. He asked, fundamentally, why does it cost so much?
He came up with that idiot index.
Exactly. The idiot index. Basically, what's the raw material cost versus the final price?
Yeah.
And the gap was just huge.
So what did he do? Just pay it?
No way. That's the point. SpaceX decided, okay, we'll just make it ourselves. In-house.
Like that valve example.
Yeah.
Quoted at, what, $250,000?
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And by going back to first principles, what metal, what process they aim to make it for, like a tiny fraction of that.
And the actuator, the $120,000 part.
Yeah, one they targeted for maybe $5,000. Apparently, the inspiration was like a garage door opener mechanism, super simple, basic mechanics.
It really forces you to ask, what are the actual building blocks here, and how can we put them together cheaper or better?
Precisely. So the reflection for you, the listener. What's some conventional wisdom or accepted cost in your world that you could challenge if you went right back to the basics?
Good question. Okay, lesson 2.
Lesson 2, cultivate a maniacal sense of urgency. And maniacal is probably the right word here.
Not just, let's hustle a bit.
No, this is extreme. Super aggressive deadlines. Often, frankly, unrealistic deadlines.
Why, though, if they're unrealistic?
Well, the book suggests the intent isn't always literally hitting that impossible date. It's about compressing the timeline so much it forces rapid problem solving.
Forces that first principles thinking again, maybe, out of sheer necessity.
Exactly. No time for the old ways. You have to find shortcuts, smarter ways.
Isaacson mentions building rocket test stands in weeks for engines that weren't even built yet.
Right. Or remember having the development schedule for a critical part at SpaceX, and apparently they kind of pulled it off, which surprised everyone.
Wow. It's a pattern, then, demanding the near impossible.
It is. And look, that urgency can be powerful. It forces innovation. But there's a huge caveat here.
The downside.
Yeah. Tom Mueller, one of his key engineers, pointed this out in the book. He called it maybe Elon's biggest weakness. If the deadlines just feel physically impossible, constantly.
Give up. Get demoralized.
It's exactly. Burnout, resentment. It has to feel incredibly challenging, yes. But somehow possible, not just like punishment.
It's walking a really fine line, then.
A very fine line.
So the question for you listening, how could you bring more urgency to your projects constructively without tipping over into that demotivation zone?
Tricky balance. Okay, number 3.
Let's hear it.
Be willing to take calculated and sometimes reckless risks.
Okay, calculated risk is standard business talk, but reckless.
Well, Isaacson paints a picture of Musk making bets that most people, even most entrepreneurs, would see as crazy. He doesn't always follow that mitigate all risk playbook.
Like pouring his PayPal money into SpaceX and Tesla?
Pretty much all of it, yeah. into two incredibly difficult, capital-hungry businesses. Silicon Valley thought he was nuts. Both were seen as long shots, huge long shots.
And Tesla almost didn't make it right. The book talks about using customer deposits.
Oh, yeah. Using the deposits for the Roadster just to keep the lights on. That was a real we do this or we die moment. A massive gamble.
Peter Thiel apparently said something interesting about that.
Yeah, Thiel's point was something like, if both these crazy ideas work, maybe Musk just understands risk differently than the rest of us.
So it's not just random.
It seems calculated, but on a different scale. He looks at the potential upside, the transformative upside. If it could genuinely change the world, maybe the low probability of success is worth the bet for.
The potential reward outweighs the fear of failure in his head.
That seems to be the idea. It's not blind gambling. It's spotting these high-leverage moments where success means, like, exponential change.
Really challenges that natural tendency to play it safe.
Totally.
So for you, the listener, what's that seemingly crazy bet on your horizon? The one with huge potential if it pays off. Is it worth a harder look?
Moving on. Number 4.
Okay.
Design the machine that builds the machine.
Right. I remember this. It's not just about the car or the rocket.
Exactly. It's about the factory, the manufacturing process itself. Musk believes designing how you build something is just as critical, maybe more critical, than designing the thing itself.
And getting the engineers and the production line people talking. Constantly.
Yeah, a really tight feedback loop. Isaacson describes the Tesla Fremont factory. They put the engineers right near the assembly lines. Physically close.
So they could see the problems immediately.
See them, feel them, yeah. If a part was hard to install or a process was inefficient, the designers knew about it instantly and could iterate on the car and the process.
And Musk's own desk was out there on the factory floor.
Yep, right in the middle of it, symbolizing that connection, that integration of design and making.
Because if the design is brilliant but impossible or super expensive to build,
then it's not actually that brilliant, is it? This approach aims to fix that disconnect. Design and production have to evolve together, optimize each other constantly. That's a huge competitive edge if you can pull it off.
Makes sense. So think about your own work. How connected are design and execution? Do the people designing things really understand the challenges of making or delivering them?
And what improvements there could really make a difference.
Okay, number 5. This one sounds fun.
Huh. Maybe not fun for the hardware. Lesson 5. Embrace iterative design and testing, even to the point of failure.
So break stuff on purpose.
Pretty much. Musk's philosophy, as Isaacson describes it, is about pushing designs hard in testing. Really hard. Until they break.
Why? Just to be destructive?
No, to learn. Define the absolute limits. If you don't know where something breaks, you don't truly know its capabilities. Failure isn't avoided, it's data. Crucial data for the next version.
The SpaceX story is about the engine testing.
Exactly. Mueller and others, they'd intentionally run engines past their limits. Boom. Okay, now we know. Now we know how close we can run it or what needs strengthening.
You can't do that kind of testing just anywhere, I guess.
Right. That led to needing places like the McGregor test site in Texas, somewhere they could really let loose, experiment, and blow things up safely when needed. All in the name of learning fast.
So it's fail fast, learn faster.
That's the core idea. Treat failures not as blame points, but as essential learning moments. Extract the lesson, apply it, iterate quickly.
Requires a certain culture, though,
Yeah.
to be okay with things breaking.
Absolutely. A culture that sees setbacks as progress, in a way.
So, for you listening, how well do you or your team actually learn from failures? Is that knowledge captured, used, or just forgotten?
Good question. Okay, number 6. This ties back a bit to the first principle.
Which is?
Focus relentlessly on cost reduction through first principles and vertical integration.
Cost again, but linked to making things yourself. Vertical integration.
Exactly. So Musk is obsessed, according to the book, with the fundamental cost of things.
Yeah.
Raw materials, basic manufacturing steps. And that deep understanding often leads him to say, you know what? It's cheaper or better if we just do this ourselves.
Bringing it in-house.
Right. That's vertical integration. Taking control of more steps in the production chain.
We saw that with the SpaceX parts versus supplier quotes.
Huge difference, yeah. And at Tesla, too, big investments in battery tech, gigafactories, making their own seats, lots of stuff. Trying to control the critical, expensive parts.
Even the Starship being stainless steel. That was a cost thing, too.
Apparently, yes, a big part of it. Analyzing the cost versus performance of different materials, steel came out surprisingly well for what they needed. It wasn't just about looks.
So this isn't just being cheap.
No, it's strategic. It's
Yeah.
about enabling ambitious goals. If you rely on suppliers with huge markups, maybe making humanity multiplanetary just isn't affordable. Vertical integration can lower costs, speed up innovation, improve quality.
But it's complicated, right? You need
Yeah.
expertise in way more areas.
Oh, for sure. It's complex, expensive upfront, definitely risky in its own way. It's not a magic bullet.
So, the reflection. Where in your operations are you just accepting high costs? Have you really dug into the fundamental expenses? Could making more yourself actually save money or give you an edge?
Worth thinking about. Lesson 7.
Keep 'em coming.
Don't be afraid to disrupt traditional industry practices.
This seems like a big one for him. Just challenging everything.
Yeah, Isaacson shows this again and again. He enters an industry, aerospace, cars, tunnels, AI, and just questions the established way of doing things, the norms, the conventional wisdom.
He sued NASA contractors early on, or challenged NASA itself.
Yeah, questioned their contracting practices, sued over a contract awarded to Kistler, I think. Bold move for a newcomer.
And Tesla completely ignored the dealership model for cars.
Direct sales, building their own manufacturing from scratch, instead of just tweaking existing auto processes. These aren't small tweaks, they're fundamental challenges to how the industry works.
Where does that confidence come from, to just reject decades of practice?
It seems to come back to that first principles thinking again. If you understand the fundamentals, maybe the traditional way doesn't look so logical anymore. It takes courage, though, to actually act on that, to go against the grain when everyone's telling you you're wrong.
So, the question for you, the listener. What are the accepted truths, the sacred cows in your field, the things everyone just does? Which one might be ready for a shakeup?
Interesting thought. Okay, number 8 is about people.
Ah, the team.
Hire and value hardcore talent and encourage direct feedback, even if harsh.
Hardcore, that word comes up a lot.
It does. The book makes it clear.
Yeah.
Musk looks for people who are intensely dedicated, willing to work incredibly long hours, passionate.
And thick-skinned, maybe, for the feedback part.
Seems like it. He fosters this culture of very direct, sometimes brutally honest feedback. Candor over comfort, you could say.
The hardcore email to Twitter after he bought it is the obvious recent example. Work super hard or leave.
Exactly. A very stark choice. But Isaacson gives earlier examples too, like J.B. Straubel, Tesla's former CTO. He apparently saw Musk's bluntness not as personal attacks, but as like a tool to get the best result. If you understood the goal, the feedback, however harsh, was just information to get there faster.
So results and effort are prized above almost everything else.
That seems to be the culture described. Extreme performance, direct talk. Now that can be incredibly effective for pushing boundaries, moving fast.
But there's always a but.
But the human cost can be high. The book touches on this too. Burnout is real. It takes a very specific kind of person to thrive in that intensity long term.
What holds it together then? Why do people do it?
Seems to be that shared mission we'll talk about, that feeling you're part of something huge, something important, that makes the intensity feel maybe justified. To some, anyway.
Right. So, thinking about your own team, how do you foster dedication? And how honest is the feedback, really? Can people give tough news? And can people receive it constructively?
Important questions. Almost there. Number 9. Maintain a visionary focus on a grand, inspiring goal.
This feels key to understanding him. It's not just about profits.
Definitely not just about profits. Isaacson really emphasizes Musk's ability to set these huge, world-changing visions, goals that inspire people.
Making humanity multiplanetary with SpaceX.
Right, or accelerating the shift to sustainable energy with Tesla. These are massive, almost existential goals.
The book even links SpaceX back to his childhood reading, sci-fi.
Yeah, Isaac Asimov's Foundation series apparently had a big impact. This idea of ensuring humanity's long-term survival. That became the deep why behind SpaceX.
And Tesla wasn't just about cool electric cars initially.
The mission was bigger. Kickstart the electric vehicle revolution, fight climate change. The cars were the means to that larger end.
So these grand visions, they act like a magnet for talent, for effort.
Exactly. They provide this powerful unifying why. Why work the crazy hours? Why take the risks? Because you're part of this incredibly ambitious, meaningful mission. It fuels commitment, resilience. Hard to get that with just, increasing quarterly earnings.
So the question for you, what's your grand, inspiring vision, the big why behind your work? And are you communicating it effectively to get people excited and aligned?
Powerful stuff. And that leads us to the final lesson, number 10.
The last one. Let's have it.
Be driven by a deep-seated need to solve existential problems.
This goes even deeper than the grand vision, doesn't it? It's about his personal motivation.
It seems so, based on Isaacson's account. His driving force often appears to stem from this desire to tackle what he sees as fundamental threats or huge challenges facing humanity.
Like needing a backup plan for humanity on Mars.
Yeah, preserving consciousness, that idea.
Yeah.
Or his involvement with AI safety, like investing in DeepMind early on, not just to profit from AI, but to understand and maybe steer it away from potential dangers.
So it's less about business opportunities and more about problem solving on a species level?
That's the picture Isaacson paints. That this intrinsic motivation, this feeling of needing to solve these massive problems, is the core engine. It's what fuels the relentless drive, the ambition, the risk-taking. It's a purpose beyond just building companies.
That's a powerful driver.
Incredibly powerful. And resilient.
So the final reflection for you, the listener. What's the fundamental problem you are truly passionate about solving? Does that passion drive your leadership, your choices?
And there we are. 10 lessons pulled from our deep dive into Isaacson's Musk biography.
Yeah, 10 essential principles. And look, obviously these come from a very unique, maybe a controversial figure.
Absolutely.
But the underlying ideas, we think, offer really valuable, actionable insights. Things you, the learner, can think about and maybe adapt for your own leadership challenges. Doesn't matter the field or the scale you're working at.
Right, because Musk's journey, as Isaacson shows it, it highlights this blend of contradictions, doesn't it?
Yeah, like intense vision and brutal pragmatism.
Unshakable conviction, but also somehow a willingness to learn from failure, to pivot.
It's navigating those tensions, isn't it? That seems key to groundbreaking leadership.
Definitely. How do you reconcile those opposites in your leadership to really get things moving, achieve that escape velocity in whatever you're doing?
That's the big takeaway question. Now look, you've gotten a taste here, right? The distilled essence of what makes a disruptor like him tick.
Just scratching the surface, though.
Oh yeah, barely. There's a whole universe of detail, anecdotes, the raw story waiting inside the actual book, Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson.
It's a hefty read, but fascinating.
So if you're serious, truly serious, about understanding the mindset that is literally shaping our future and figuring out how to apply some of that fire to your own success, well, you know what to do.
Don't wait.
Exactly. Head over to Amazon right now, grab your copy of Elon Musk, get the full picture, prepare to have your assumptions about leadership, about what's even possible, just blown wide open. That's your next mission. Go execute.